be really working through, and the frame that Kim is going to be, leading through are going to be pieces of getting to action. And so I really want to spend the next couple of sessions talking about and getting us into the being of a hope dealer. How do we start to create in ourselves a sense that this is the work that we do and the value we bring to that work? So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right into it. I almost hit the leave meeting button. I don't know. That happens a lot, y'all. Here we go. So today's conversation, we're going to go through a quick welcome and introduction. We're going to do a check-in, which, as I mentioned in our last meeting, a check-in is a practice that I want to encourage you to do. Check-in and check-outs are great ways for you and your meetings to capture how folk are coming into the space in the moment, and then to get some learning about what they might be hoping for the meeting or concerns might be, depending on what the topic of the meeting is. We're going to review the ground rules that we established in our last session, and then I'm going to lead you into page 1 of the Hope Dealer's Handbook. And we'll go through next steps, some homework, and a checkout at the end. So today's essential question, and I'd like you to share in the chat. And one of the things that I noticed in our last session is there was some real hesitancy to be present, to show up. So I'm going to be really clear. As leaders in this work, if you are really intentional and expecting to move and be a mover in this work for the communities you serve, a big piece of it is about showing up. And so I'm going to say that as generally as I can, because this is your session. This is our gift to you, our partnership with you, and you've taken time out of your day to join us. And so I'm going to ask you to be present. I'm going to ask you to show up in this space and all the things that requires of you. So in the chat, because we don't have time to do individual check-ins. Now, if you're doing it in your group, a great way to start meetings, give everyone some time to say these things out loud so they can be heard and be brought into the space. But I'd like you to just put your name, your role, how you are right now, and share the name of one person who has inspired and encouraged you. Okay, and that's going to be our check-in in the chat. Your name and role, how are you, and a name of one person who has inspired and encouraged you. So as you do that, I'll take give you just a couple of minutes for folks to jump in the chat. And Lucretia, thank you. I'll work on that. I get excited, but I'll work on my pacing for you. Thank you for giving me that note. All right, look good. We got some folks bringing themselves into the room. Good. Thank you all. I'll give you just another 30 seconds or so. And while we're having folks check in, I would like to also remind you that later on in this session, we're going to be doing a creative writing, creative engagement exercise. So as you're getting yourself settled, make sure you've got something to write with and something to write on close by. Most of you are at computers. That serves as a pretty good way to do that now. A lot of folks split their screen on Zoom and open up a word processor document. How you want to do it. I'm going to walk us through a bio poem as part of today's work, and I'm excited about that. All right, just a few more seconds for folks to check in. Great. It's good to see all of you all, and good to have you in the space. All right, if you haven't had a chance to check in, continue to jump into the chat as you can, and the rest of you can continue to look and see what's going on. So I'd like to, there we are, look at the ground rules that we set. Last at our last session 2 weeks ago, I think it's been 2 weeks. Wow. Um, we talked about the rules of properly engaging in success, the ropes, which is a quick ground rule setting process that I use in facilitation for groups and organizations that I work with. And as going through that process, we were able to come up with some very powerful words to capture our intent, our aspirations for the work that we will be doing here together over the next few months. And so I wanted just to remind you of those. You should have also received probably in an email or in the file that we have, there's a copy. But we want to always be mindful of the expectations we've set for ourselves in this group. And I think that these words and the meaning behind them really do speak volumes to our intent to show up, be present, and to be purposeful in moving ourselves, our work, and our communities toward more inclusive, more diverse, more equitable outcomes. And so I'm excited. So those are our ground rules. We've set our frame, we've checked in, and it's time for us to lean into the work. Self as instrument of change is the big part of the conversation that I want to have today. The Hope Dealer's Handbook is something that I've been working on in one iteration or another for half my life, taking the learning and the lessons from those people like yourself who were in positions to influence and change my life dramatically, and figure out how I operationalize that in my own work to be a change maker. And so I'm excited to be introducing you all to the idea of hope dealing, to being a hope dealer, and really for the foundation of it is self as instrument of change. Using ourself, our own experience, our own story as the thing that allows us to create movement and transformation in the work that we do. Hope dealers use self as an instrument of change to operationalize their personal values, lived experience, and aspirational thinking in order to engage, encourage, and empower the communities they serve. So being a hope dealer, and again, this is my framing in the work that I've done for most of my life. And I'll be clear that my opinion and $5 won't get you a Venti Super Chocolate Yaya at Star World. But it's a frame that has served me well in the work that I do. And the reason we start with the foundation of self as instrument of change is because so much of what we consciously and unconsciously navigate in the work that we do is through our own lens, and how we interpret that to other folks is really important. I'm going to share with you a spoken word piece that I use often to ground me and to ground my personal experience and story in the work that I do. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. This is a piece called Bebe's Song. Y'all remember that song by Bill Withers, Lean on Me? You know how it goes? Sometimes in our lives, we all have pain. You can join in. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Well, anyway.
Lean on me.
See, that was the song on the radio the day I got the news. See, I was sitting at home by myself, had the radio turned up kind of loud, and I guess I was trying to sing, and the phone rang. Hello? I said, but nobody answered. Hello? I said a bit louder, and this voice starts screaming. He's dead. He's dead. They killed Bebe. And the whole world starts spinning, me trying to sit before I fall, this voice echoing through my soul. They killed Bebe. And Bill is on the radio singing, Call Me When You Need a Friend. See, Bebe was my cousin, Cedric, about the same age as my youngest brother, Tony, and he was dead. He was the first in my generation to go down like that. Now, he wasn't the last and he wasn't the youngest. Bebe just got to be first. Bebe was a father at 16, used to run the streets. Well, we all used to run the streets, but he knew how to laugh at himself. And you got to know how to laugh at yourself if you hope to survive those St. Louis streets. So I go home for the funeral, and the boy who killed my cousin is already out of jail. And that's when me and mine start talking like it's time to go play. You know, it's time to go play judge, and it's time to go play jury. It's time to go play executioner. And that's when it hits me that this is what it's all about. Letting your emotion drive you to the edge of sanity. Holding on so tight, holding on so long to the madness, it eats you from the inside. And it builds, and it builds, and blam! You can't help but go off like a loaded gun. And somewhere, another baby sits staring at a door that she don't know will never open again. And somewhere, another mama sits cradling a phone that she knows will never ring again. And somewhere, a whole family, a whole community is changed forever again. And that is not how I want to make it to the other side. So I start trying real hard not to let other people push my buttons and make me do things. But sometimes I still get so damn mad I can't even see straight. And then that song will pop into the back of my head. And then sometimes I pick up my phone and I push the little star button. I say, hello, I'm talking to the other side. And I say, I miss you, baby. And I say, I miss you, Steve-O. God, I miss JoJo. See, Joey was only 14 when they shot him in the head. I say, I miss you, and I will never forget you. And I wish I could return the favor. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you again real soon. Peace. But the whole time, see, it's that song. It never stops playing in the back of my head. I'm right up the road, and I'll share your load. If you just call me, call me. See, I remember that song because now that's Bebe's song. My name is Hassan Davis, and just like you, I am a hope dealer. I've taken everything that I could squeeze as far as meaning goes out of the difficult, challenging pieces of my own life, and I've tried to build from those with the help and the example of folks around me, possibility. I think that is the most authentic piece of the work that we do. And it doesn't mean that you have to have had experiences like mine or like any of the folks that you serve, just that you have had authentic experiences that have inspired you and make you want to aspire to be better in the work and the service that you provide. It's something we can all connect to, our experience, our story, and we can use that to really empower and fast track the work that we do. When we get to the end of this series, it's going to be about how you operationalize yourself as a leader, yourself as a change maker, to create the possibility, to resist the temptation to say, well, nobody wants to hear from me, so I guess I'll be quiet and it won't be my problem. So that's what this conversation is about. It's about moving forward. Perhaps the most powerful instrument we have in helping our clients navigate change is ourselves. Our ability to use ourselves potently relies in large part on the level of awareness we have about the impact we make and our ability to make choices to direct and modify that impact. So when we understand ourselves and what motivates us, the things that we value and that hold value for us, the biases we hold, those are all parts of the framing that we're going to be digging into in part and full over the next 3 sessions. Starting today with really getting into your story and building conversation. True self awareness requires one, reflective self examination, feedback from others. You can't be in a closed loop. You have to test what you think you know about yourself with the folk around you. Knowledge of who you are, where you're going, and why you're going there. In the service of what? It's just the question I ask myself in my work. I'm doing this in the service of what? Why am I engaging in this piece? And if I can't answer that question, then I need to examine whether I really do know who I am and where I'm going. Self awareness is not something that is intrinsic, it's not something that we're born with. Although there are pieces of it, right? You hear people in conversation, especially in this moment in our national and global story, you hear people who say things like, "This is just the way I am," right? This is just, who I am, warts and all. I hear that a lot. And it really is a disservice to say that, you know, those are the things that we were born with. We've been gifted and we've been receiving input from folk that develop us over time. And some of that development we have to undo over time, often with the help of others guiding the self discovery process. And so we're going to go through some of that, especially when we get into our last session for me, where we're going to dig into unconscious bias and some of the things that challenge our greatest values, and the things that we hold dear are being challenged directly by the unconscious pieces of who we are that we inherited from the ones that have fed us and nurtured us through our development. And so it's going to be important for us to really see that. We are going to enter into the biopoem process now. So I'm going to ask you to get out something to write on, something to write with. When I do this exercise and lead this exercise in different communities, I always say there's no wrong way. I'm ADHD and dyslexic, and so the idea of writing way before computers and I had assistive technology that recorded what I wanted to say and turned it into words, this would be the point where I would turn around and figure out who I could hit over the head fastest to get ejected from the class, so that I would be that crazy kid nobody wants to sit with instead of that broken, stupid boy who can't read and write like other children. So I want to acknowledge that there's some real challenge around ableness, and we talk about engaging in creative exercises. But one of the things I love about the bio poem is that there is no wrong way to do it. It can be something that you do call and response to. It can be something that you can have support with and someone can help you navigate. I've paired students up and partners together, with one who feels very confident and strong about how they can write, and another who is less so, and they can work together, building that peer pro-social connection. So this is an exercise that we all can do in our own way. And I want to encourage you to do it in the way that fits more comfortable to you. A biopoem is a piece of creative writing pertaining to an individual and their personal experience and thoughts. To you, be clear, it's about you, not me or someone else. It provides an opportunity for reflection on self, creates a context and a framing that can be adapted to explore multiple dimensions of self. I've used this exercise for almost 30 years now as a professional, but as a young person, I'll just let you know, again, part of that development of my own story. My mother was an artist and an activist, and she introduced this to me at a critical point in my childhood where I was frustrated and angry at a world that couldn't see me. And this exercise, as she started to get me to think about these prompts, allowed me in so many ways to divest myself of the painful, most hurtful pieces so that I could really own the hopes and dreams and figure out how to move on them. And so it's an exercise that I think is going to be exciting. I like it a lot, and it's a great tool for you, for us. We're using it, but it can also be something that you use, and I can develop out and show you some of the pieces if you want to use it with other folk. Um, so it's 11 lines long, no rhyme, no verse, no meter, no iambic pentameter, all that stuff that scares us to death about poetry. And it's about you. So there should be no one that knows more about you or definitively about you except maybe the IRS. And they're not listening in. So this is just about us. All right. So the bio poem, 11 lines long. I'm going to put each of the prompts here, and they're going to stay here as we generate. So if you get behind, if I'm going too fast, you always know where the prompt is so that you can get back to it. And I know that you also had the slide deck sent out to you, so you have access to it there. On line number one, put your first name, please. Your first name. Since I will assume that that will be the easiest question you answer today, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on line number one, okay? On line number two, please write down 4 relationships you value, however you frame that, however that hits you when you hear it. 4 relationships that you value.
Ooh, I'm just going to step in real quick to ask participants to please mute your phones. Sorry about that, Hassan. Go ahead.
Thank you. 4 relationships that you value. I'll give you a few more seconds. Again, remember the prompts will continue to be here as we move forward so that you don't have to worry about missing something.
Chairnet, can you do me a favor and just manually mute the individuals that aren't on mute?
Yeah, I'm trying to do that.
I think that's Billy, Allen, and I see Lucretia. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, line number 3. On line number 3, please write down 3 words that you think other people would use to describe you. 3 words you think others would use to describe you. Three words you think others would use to describe you. Three words you think that others would use to describe you. It's been such a hard shift for me the last 2 years of being virtual. I'm used to doing this in big rooms, groups of people, and not being able to see everybody and to kind of gauge and, because it's interesting to see people's faces as they start to think about these, because although these are things that we kind of process subconsciously, these prompts that I use, and the reason that I chose them is because they're not ones that we actively engage with. And so it's really interesting to see people as they go, wow, wait a minute, what would that be? 3 words you think others would use to describe you. I'll give you a few more seconds on line number 3. Line 4. On line 4, please write down 3 things that you fear or that you used to fear. 3 things you fear or used to fear. 3 things you fear or used to fear. Three things you fear or used to fear. Excuse me. Three things you fear or used to fear. I'll give you a few more seconds on line number 4. Doing great. Nobody's turned on their screen, their camera and screaming, so I think we're good. Line number 5. On line 5, please write down 3 things that you do not believe or that you do not believe in, or any combination. Do not believe or do not believe in. 3 things. 3 things you do not believe or do not believe in. Three things you do not believe or do not believe in. And remember, the prompts are staying here, so if there was one of the lines that you didn't quite get it, or you thought about another, and I have this question, like if you can think of 5 things, write down 5 things, right? There are no rules. Like I said, there's no wrong way to do this. This is your story. You craft it the way that you are living it, the way you experience it. It's you. 3 things you do not believe or do not believe in. Oh, and I just noticed, because there's not a T on the end of that second not, which is funny because I correct this slide a lot because I can't catch it till I actually say it out loud. But then I got so many versions of it on my box that I end up with another one. It's the life. Luckily, I get that kind of out of the way so I don't have to worry about being perfect. Makes it easy for me. Give you a few more seconds on line number 5. 3 things you do not believe or do no believe in. Line number 6. Line number 6, I want you to write down 4 things you do believe or believe in. 4 things you do believe or believe in. Remember, we're digging into our own story, the narrative that will guide, that drives us consciously and subconsciously every day. This is our chance to actually surface it. I call it extroverted, and actually actively examine what it is that is running our subroutine. I always say riding shotgun with us every day, and sometimes we don't even notice them. Line 6 is 4 things you do believe or do believe in. Four things you do believe or do believe in. Four things you do believe or do believe in. Four things you do believe or do believe in. I'll give you a few more seconds on line number 6. Line number 7. On line 7, please write down 3 hopes or dreams that you carry in the world. 3 hopes or dreams that you carry in the world. 3 hopes and dreams you have. Line 7. 3 hopes or dreams. Three hopes or dreams. Three hopes or dreams that you carry in the world. 3 hopes or dreams that you carry in the world. Give me a few more seconds on line number 7. All right, line number 8. On line number 8, please write down 4 words that you would use to describe yourself. Now remember, line number 3, you wrote down words you think others use to describe you. Now I want you to write 4 words that you use to describe yourself. 4 words you would use to describe yourself. Four words you would use to describe yourself. Four words you use to describe yourself. A few more seconds. All right. We're going to move to line number 9. I always say that, line 9. It just has a good sign. Define line 9. All right, let me just get to work here. Line number 9. On line 9, please write down 3 things you would like others to be able to say about you when you're gone. This is our legacy question. What is the story of you that other people will tell? 3 things you would like others to be able to say about you when you're gone. And we take a little extra time here because this is one of those that gets us thinking. Can smell the smoke. 3 things you would like others to be able to say about you when you're gone. Three things you would like others to be able to say about you when you're gone. All right, we'll give you just another minute. Three things you would like others to be able to say about you when you're gone. All right. We're almost done. I told you it was only 11 lines long, right? So we've only got 2 lines left. Line number 10, you're going to have 2 choices. You can either write citizen of, then you can fill in the blank, or you can write resident of, and then fill in the blank. You choose which one of those lead-ins you like best or fits you best, and then fill in the blank. citizen of blank or resident of blank. Citizen of blank or resident of blank. You fill in the blank. You choose which one. Give you a few more seconds. Now, as we move toward line number 11, would anybody like to take a guess what the prompt for line number 11 is? You can turn on your mic and say it if you think you know it.
Do you want to say it out loud?
Yes, please.
Oh, is that the prompt for number 11?
Huh?
If we want to say it out loud.
Oh, no.
No.
But it's your last name. And then my question after number 11 was going to be, would you like to share it out loud? So you're just one ahead of me. So line number 11 is your last name. It's like a U sandwich. All the good stuff right in there. It's your story. So take a minute. Look over the 11 lines of prompt. Look over what you've written. Think about the story that you're telling here. And then I am going to ask, would anybody like to share what they wrote? And I'll be clear that there's not a requirement to share, but it's a great way for us to practice extroverting our narrative, sharing our narrative, the story of us, because this really is, when we talk about self as instrument of change, the core of it is your story. And that is the thing that allows all the other pieces to work. As a leader, it is a thing that guides you and allows you to show the folk around you who you are and how you show up and why. Very often you show up the way you do and you do the work that you do. Anybody like to share what they've written?
Hassan, we have I think, is it Alyssa or Alisa who just typed that she would be happy to share.
I love that.
Yeah, Alyssa.
Okay, Alyssa. Well,
I'll never forget it. That's my sister's name, Alyssa.
Oh, perfect.
take it away.
Okay. Okay. My first name's Alyssa, and relationships I value. I've had a hard time with relationships, so I value compassion, intelligence, honesty, and clarity. 3 words I think people would use to describe me are intelligent, funny, and articulate. 3 things I fear or used to fear: anger, being hit, and cruelty. 3 things I don't believe in. This is a real rebel one: religion, evil, and capitalism. 4 things I do believe in: evolution, diversity, balance, and us. Dreams that I carry in the world: healthy environment, peace and diversity, and happy animals. I guess 4 words I use to describe myself: strong, intelligent, kind, and funny. 3 things I'd like people to say about me after I'm gone: she was really special, very kind, and did good things for others. Resident of North America, Norman.
All right. Thank you so much, Alyssa. I appreciate that. That was wonderful. So as you think about it, I'm just gonna, since you shared, and I want to thank you for that. Is there a particular line that really kind of made you really think hard, or made you just kind of, you hadn't processed or thought about intentionally in a while?
I think the whole thing was pretty profound. I
Mhm.
don't think it was just any one line.
Yeah, and
Maybe the fear one.
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah, I think what you said is a statement that I get very often, that in such a very simple exercise, right? 11 lines of kind of just writing. It really is. It brings us to some real clarity around things, and create some question and some movement in some spaces. So thank you so much for sharing. I think it's really important for us to celebrate folks that are willing to tell their story, and I think that's an important part of the work we're all doing. Is there anyone else who would like to join Alyssa in the moment? I see a hand. Kimberly, is that your hand?
This is Kimberly. Yes, that is my hand. And it was really interesting to hear Alyssa's because I don't know that I thought about it, the questions in the same way that she did, 100%. So we can all see the prompts. I'm not going to read those, but Kimberly, parent, partner, child, friend, and mentor, intelligent, friendly, and direct, losing control, falling from a great height, and what's unseen in the dark. There is only one right answer. I can always control the outcome and not being able to fix it. Higher being, friendship, doing the right thing just because, and I can influence change. My child will be successful in his own eyes. There is a cure to cancer. People will understand the impact of their actions. Fat, ugly, moral, forgetful. Awesome mom. She was not afraid. She always thought of others. Citizen of society as we make it and influence it. Mac.
Thank you, Kimberly, so much. We appreciate that. So, and if you don't mind, I want to stick with you for a second. I want to ask you which line, if any, really put you into thinking. But then I heard something in your voice, and I wanted to know what's present for you right now. What is it kind of? Where are you right now?
Right now, I realize that I try and be everything for everybody else, but I'm not always what I need for myself.
Well, I want to thank you so much for your transparency and your vulnerability, for being present in the moment with us, and being willing to dance right here and be you. And we're so happy that you're here. And thanks for sharing that amazing bio poem. Thank you.
We have another volunteer.
Okay.
I'm probably gonna mispronounce this name, so please check me, okay? Laramie?
Close, Laramie.
Laramie. Thank you. I'm sorry about that, Laramie. Go ahead.
No worries. Laramie, for relationships I value, being an advocate, a friend, a daughter, and a community member. Things that I think other people would say about me are that I'm weird, friendly, and willing to try. 3 things that I fear are rejection, loneliness, and anger. Things I don't believe in are organized religion, limiting others' rights, controlling others. Things I do believe in are autonomy, honoring differences, and feelings being validated even if they're not always understood, and fairness. three hopes or dreams I carry are to be a helper, to self-actualize to my greatest extent, and to make a difference. Four words I would use to describe myself are thoughtful, empathetic, energetic, and individual. Things that I wish that others would say about me when I'm gone is that I'm caring, thoughtful, and unapologetically myself. Citizen of Fayetteville, Arkansas, heart.
All right. Thank you so much, Laramie. That was wonderful. And as you process this, what was the line that really had gravity for you, had weight for you?
I think probably number 6. Just reminding myself of like what my values are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Laramie. That was wonderful. Would anyone else like to share what they've written?
This is Dennis. I just have a comment, Laramie. If it's okay, it's a good comment.
Sure.
I appreciate that you used for number 4, organized religion, because in the 4 things you do not believe or believe in, I think that's what I was thinking, but I put God there, and I think I meant organized religion. But in the next question, I do believe in a higher power. So I really appreciate that you use that term organized religion, because I believe there can be church traumas or religious traumas. And so I thank you for making me think about that question.
Thank you. I was thinking the same thing, because at first I almost put down religion as well. And then I was like, but I do believe there's something more. I just think that people, taint it.
So
wow, what a gift. That clarity, that's amazing. Well, and thank both of you. Dennis, thank you for sharing that feedback and clarity too. Nitsa, is your hand raised? Are you ready to share too?
Yes, hi all.
Please.
Hello, my name is Nitsa. For relationships, I value my relationship with God, my parents, my sisters, and my son and daughter. 3 words you think others would use to describe me. Hyperactive, I don't know, hiperactiva, sincera, and friendly. 3 things that you fear. I fear loneliness. I fear the loneliness. I fear the cucarachas, I don't know, cockroach. And I have fear to the lagartijos, I don't know, lizards. 3 things you do not believe. I do not believe in this deceit, I don't know, hypocrisy, weakness.
Goodbye.
En la maldad y en el engaño.
Oh, hello.
4 things I think that other things feel as otras cosas que las personas pueden pensar de mí. For example, I am honest, respeto, amor, and amistad, friendship. And number 7, my hopes. I hope to finish my doctoral dissertation. I want to see my son and daughter have his own family and have my own, mi compañero de vida, my partner.
Your partner.
And 4 words to use for describe myself. I'm helpful, cheerful, sincere, and hardworking. Number 9. 3 things, 3 cosas que quiero que digan de mí. 3 things that I want to say for me. I'm a good friend, una buena amiga. Luchadora, active fighter. And I love what I do.
Yes.
And number 10, I am from Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. And my last name is Mendez.
Lisa, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Suncoast Sealed, you have your hand up?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. First name Harvey. The 4 relationships that I value is my mom, my brothers, my son, and my wife. 3 words you think others would use to describe you, I would say honest, fair, stubborn. 3 things that I feel or have felt was my father, rats, and death. Number 5, I would say the Easter Bunny, heaven and hell. The next one, can you close my door for a second?
Okay.
So the next one would be God, truth, myself, and others. That I believe in. 3 hopes or dreams that I carry in the world will be world peace, wealth, and generosity, or I should say generosity for everyone. And then 4 words I would use to describe myself would be good looking, intelligent, unselfish, and loving. And then 3 things you would like others to be able to say, or when you're gone, I would like for them to say that I was giving, humorous, and brave. Citizen of the United States, Brooks. My last.
All right. Thank you, Harvey. That was great. Some great contributions today. You all just put in some real work and some real thinking. Anyone else like to share as we round this out? It's been wonderful hearing all of your voices and such a diverse range of voices and experiences that show the different ways for us to come into our story. So thank you all so much for being able to demonstrate that and model that. If there's no one else who'd like to share, I'll share one that I wrote about 10 years ago. One of the things that, I try, my wife tells me I go into teacher mode because I teach this as a tool. And so maybe that's another time we can get there, but I wanted so much to dig into it because there's so much richness that you all kind of feel it, but I want to name it, but I'm not right now. I'm trying to keep my time boundary and keep my facilitator trainer hat on, not my teacher hat. So I'm going to share one that I wrote some time ago. Hassan, father of sons, champion of children, and I fight injustice. Others call me a leader, a dreamer, or a fool. What I fear most are hopelessness, hatred, and losing more children to both. I do not believe that God only loves some, that might makes right, or that the early bird always catches the worm. But I do believe enemies can be made friends, that tomorrow will be better if we act today, and that all children can learn. I dream of more schools and fewer prisons because we have made a need. I think that I am scared but courageous, foolishly hopeful, and stubborn enough not to change. When I'm gone, I hope someone can say of me, he gave me hope. He never gave up. And can you believe he said that to the president? I'm a resident of the world I dream for my children, Davis. So I stopped sharing my screen because I want to take a minute here to kind of let us all process and take a deep breath. And I want to see from any of you, whether you've shared or not, just kind of want to get some insight, some of your thoughts and reflection on the experience of the bio poem. And then I want to talk a little bit more about how, when we talk about self as instrument of change, how this helps us build our narrative, create our story, how it might help us move forward intentionally in our work. Does anyone like to share their thoughts? They're just kind of in the moment where you are right now.
Verbally or in the chat, I think is fine.
Either one, that's right. Thank you. And I know there's a lot, this is, so I'll keep talking as you all consider how you
What
want
was the question again?
just kind of where with this exercise, with this experience, kind of what was the aha, what was it for you, when you think about self as instrument of change and using your story, what comes up for you?
I feel like that I, self-discovery, this whole trying to put into words how I would describe myself or where I'm at. I feel like I'm self-aware of me, but I don't, quantify that. I don't put that into words too much or spend too much time thinking internally or my motivations or how I'm feeling. Right. I'm too busy thinking about, the world and what I've got to do and their feelings and their emotions and not me,
Yeah. So, and thank you for that, Brenda. So it sounds like part of what you're saying is internally you've got it, but how do you translate that in a way that other people can connect to it too might be a place of challenge, right? So
yeah,
exercises like this might help you generate some of those things that then you can actually share, extrovert so that other folk can know what's been going on inside of there where they're wondering so much, right?
Yeah, so true, because people will say, I think I'm a very open person, but people will go, you're a hard one to get to know. I'm like, really? I'm an open book. Ask me anything.
Hey, yeah. But they have to be brave enough to ask, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Piece of it. Yeah. And then Alyssa put in the chat, there's a big difference between who I am and what I want to do. Are you willing to talk about that more, Alyssa? Because but yeah, I think that's a great statement. It's a powerful statement.
So I realized I, put all these wonderful things like kind, funny, intelligent, but what I do like in the real world is I fight for social justice and, and I'm willing to do as much as I can to tear down systems to help, make changes and I don't believe people or when they're talking emotionally because they're trying to protect themselves and the system rather than being open to change. And it's just, I just realized how big of a difference there is between like how I see myself on the inside and what it is I do. And maybe that has something to do with why I'm having a hard time with my job.
I think that is some really powerful, and well, Nitsi used the word introspection. I think that and thank you for that, because what you all are doing are demonstrating some of the pieces and the reasons I love this exercise so much. And I'll tell you, I started as a teaching artist using this as an introductory writing exercise for students I was working with in residency who were, the bad kids, those kids locked in the same room all day. And through this same kind of experience, I was able to start to see them and hear them analyzing and putting together pieces of their world that had been fragmented because they never thought of it as a consistent whole, right? Me, who am I and what am I representing? And so much of this, as it has evolved into a tool that we use in so many different ways, is about you being able to look at the story that you tell, the story that you want to tell, and maybe even the story that you don't want to tell, in some intentional ways that then allow you to make decisions about what happens next, instead of just defaulting to whatever happens next, which happens too often as in leadership places. And so I love this exercise. Again, I can't get into the nuts and bolts, but maybe we can do another session, like a bonus session, once we're done with our COP, to really dig into it, because there's some great ways to use this over and over again to really get us into the place. Kimberly, the way that I overthink things, I had difficulty choosing between citizen or resident. You'll be surprised how many people actually do have that challenge. It's like, oh, am I a citizen? Am I a resident? How am I holding myself? But all of that's what I think is so valuable about this really simple, kind of wacky 11 lines. And I'm going to share my screen again. I almost hit leave being again. I don't know why I keep doing that. You all don't scare me, so I don't know why I'm trying to get out of here. But the reason I have these questions, and if you've seen BioPoint, you've experienced them before, it's a creative writing exercise that's been around for a long time, and it's usually used in elementary schools and middle and high schools for, busy work a lot of times. But one of the things that I noticed when I started using this is that we have the ability to really craft the questions. And so as an intentional leadership tool, I crafted these questions as the first questions that we went into, because I knew that they would allow us to get certain information and to as leaders to start to think and process very specific pieces of data about self that then we could use as we move into the other parts of the work. And so when we get our chance to go back, there's lots of ways to add to it, to change the questions. What we know about ourselves, we have the ability to change. So often we are running on the default process, and when we're on autopilot, nothing changes. We don't interrogate and analyze the processes we're in. We just kind of move with them. And so one thing I love about this exercise, it allows us to actually break the transition into the norm, and then really in this moment of chaos, where we're kind of piecing together things, we get to look at it differently. Too often we go through life, sometimes blissfully, sometimes painfully, unaware of what we're running from or what we're running towards. And I heard some folk kind of alluding to that. There are the reasons that we have names for systems, and when we start to think deeper, maybe it's not a system, it's a process or a way a system has been used, right, that has been driving us away. But there are pieces of it that we would love to go toward, that real sense of community, of faith, of being held, right? And so when we can start to peel out pieces, it gives us a much more full impression of ourselves and the way we're moving in the world. It allows us, I think, as Dennis was saying, to not feel like we're jaded, but we're particular. We're being more clear about it, right? We're not trying to write off the whole thing. We're just trying to be really clear about the parts of it that rub us wrong, that challenge us, that we want to change or be different. This exercise can be used at regular intervals. One of the things that I do when I'm using as a tool for folks that I'm working with is, we have regular times, every 3 months we'll go back and we'll do the process again. When I'm working with schools or groups of young people as a counselor or an advisor or coach, we do, like, beginning of a school year, maybe after fall break, again after Christmas break, again after spring break. And what we can do over time, even if we use the same prompts, what we can do over time is it allows us to start, looking at where we might have answered different because we may be in a different place, having a different experience of the world. And so it continues to give us a 360 view, a moving view of the things that are going on with us. Once the process is normalized, I have a whole list, and I may just actually, I'll put that list in our box, right? I have a whole list of other variables that I use, 3 people that you like to have lunch with, 4, people that you would like to apologize to, 3 things that you accomplished that you never thought you could. So the whole list of other things that once you get comfortable with this process, you can start to throw new variables in to prompt yourself in new ways, to new thinking. Okay, so now I am going to go back into the larger teaching because I'm sharing this with you, and just like I've shared everything else I've told you, as I share it, I'm also sharing it with you as a tool that you can use. You can use this in building conversation and really moving to a next level of interaction with your staff teams. I use it a lot when I'm coaching for clients, when I'm doing work with young people that I'm mentoring. I use these tools to draw them in, to give me a better frame, then to begin asking how, as a hope dealer, I might be an aspirational support to their dreams, to help them fight the demons that are still lurking in their closet, to help them build the skills and gather the tools that will help them operationalize and become the thing that they want the world to remember as a legacy when they're done here, right? And so there's some amazing ways to use this. I get excited. It is the tool that I use most and I train on most, and I love it so much. So I'm going to try not to just be a fanboy here, and remember that we've got some more work to do and a little time to get it done. So let's move on. So the question ultimately is, why are we having all this talk about self when what we really want to do is influence other people to join us in pursuit of our vision, right? We want to get other people to join with us. Why we keep... But through an understanding of yourself, we become more authentic leaders, ones who align action and behavior with our core values and our beliefs, with an understanding of who we are and how we show up that allows us then to be effective as leaders of other folk, moving them. And so it's about authenticity. Authenticity means that you're being honest, with yourself and with others. You take responsibility for mistakes. Is visible to those who would be followers, companions on the journey to the desired future. So the framework of a hope dealer, using self as instrument of change, a big piece of it is that self-awareness, that first part, but then there's an authenticity that has to follow, and being able to show up and be fully present as you allows people to understand who it is and how it is that they can join with you and move forward. There's some core pieces that I think are important for us to be able to understand about authentic leadership. Leading with heart, not being afraid to dig deep, lead with courage and empathy. And those are the things that come from, having a heart that is open to the world, that can connect to the challenges and the people that we're in with. Integrity. And again, you have these in your slide deck, and so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. I just want you to kind of see, as we think about holding, ourselves as authentic leaders, these are some of the touchstones. Now, there are longer lists and lots of lists, but these are the ones that I find to be core practices that are valuable pieces of self as instrument of change. When people trust you because you keep your word no matter what it takes, that you commit and then you move forward. Vision is important. Adding value to the people and helping them realize the goals that lead to better lives. Being able to see not just what you're trying to get to, but to see how other people can be a part of that, what they can contribute. My wife in her coaching practice and in her leadership, she talks about having everybody on the bus, but then as a leader having the vision to make sure people are in the right seat, that they're in the right place on the bus, not just here going, but that you have a meaningful place, and that place that you hold adds value to the whole trip. It creates the right synergy for us to get to that result, to the outcomes that we want. Drawing on experience. There's no better teacher than life, and these leaders draw from lessons learned from their own experiences. Their leadership skills slowly evolve from real-world experience. Again, this is the core of self as an instrument of change. Operationalizing our whole experience, not our intellectual, our learning and education, the challenges that we've had, the great successes that we've had. All of those things are our story. And we have a right to access all of them, not to be limited. Sometimes we feel like there's an imposter syndrome. Sometimes we feel like, we shouldn't be telling that story because, it doesn't sound right coming from me. But if it's part of your story, it is your story, right? And so being able to authentically own that and move forward with that as part of the work. So hope dealers know their values, their strengths, and their flaws. Hope dealers have taken ownership of their own narrative, and they're willing to share their journey. That's the core foundation of hope dealing. Page 1, as we say, self as instrument of change is about us. So,
Hey, Hassan,
yeah.
real quick, we have Nitsa and Harvey with their hands raised. Just wanted to, I don't know if it was an accident or not, but wanted to flag that.
Perfect. We just got to the part where you're supposed to raise your hand. Thank you. Look at that. Timing is everything. I love it. All right. So, Nitsa, Harvey, top of mind, thoughts and questions. What's resonating? I'm going to shut off my screen share so I can see y'all. And please, if there are folks who want to.
Well, what's resonating with me is just the possibilities that we all can be great leaders, and that if we just took the time to just think about our everyday lives and the lives of others, how we can just embrace that and pay it forward.
Yeah. Thanks. That's great. Nitsa, anything to add?
You're probably on mute, Nitsa.
Sorry, I raised my hand. It's a mistake.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. If you want to jump in later, feel free. Anyone else want to chime in? Any thoughts? Anything percolating? Alyssa?
I'm really appreciating this, all of it. I really appreciate the perspective you're coming from. And I'm, for some reason, strangely excited about the homework. It's really weird. I just got out of doing way too much school, so that's kind of surprising to me. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Top of mind? Anything coming up for you just as we've experienced this last hour or so together? Where y'all at? Okay, I'm not. They have a saying in Kentucky, when you find yourself on a dead horse, it's best to get off. So I don't know what that means, but it sounds good. So I'm gonna move on to finish up our work for today. We got just a couple of things. So I'm gonna try to share my screen again, which I don't know, every time I do, I go for the leave meeting button, but I'm resisting that. All right, so we had time to see what's resonating, and thank you all for the feedback. And here is your homework. So, into continuing into really leaning into self as instrument of change, I want us to start to really dig into our narrative. It's a powerful place for us to speak and to start the work. And one of the things that you may have noticed, I'll stop sharing again because I can't see anybody, even if it's just your names. One of the things that you may have noticed is that the words diversity, equity, and inclusion haven't come up a lot, right? But if you think about the frame we're building, the foundation we're setting, everything about this is leading us into that conversation. This is the work before, right? We have to be doing this work, our internal work, before we can dig into solving these big system problems. And as we move into session 2 and session 3 with me, we're going to start to crack open a little more, and in session 3, we're going to get into some of that difficult pieces of unconscious bias, some of those pieces that have been driving our story, that have been pushing our narrative. And so, we've got a trajectory that is leading us right into it. And the piece of it is, right, all of this is our work. And it's all of our work every day. And so if you're having that sense, well, gosh, we haven't even said the word of the day yet, it's okay. All right, we're in this. You are joined. Today, you all have shown up in a way that I think is very important. And the important piece for me in this part is really getting us to a place where we are showing up and being seen, so that then when we get to those other parts of the conversation, we're present and owning that, because that's a big part of the leadership. And Nitsa asked the question about the assignment. I'll go back to that. Thank you. Are we going to send the assignment? So what I'm going to ask you to do, again, don't leave the meeting, just share the screen. What I'm going to ask you to do is, with this exercise, and usually, again, I'm usually live and I have 50 boxes of crayons, pencils, and markers, and I've got big old sheets of paper for people to take and spread out all over a big space. So this is our virtual COVID modification. I'm going to invite you to take this prompt and create your river. And the easiest way would be to take a picture of it on your phone and then upload it. I want you to be able to have access to it at our next session, so that if we do some small group breakout, you can have time to share your river of life. Because I think, again, we're building self as instrument of change. We're building narrative and personal investment. This is why we are here in this work. And I think it's important for you to be heard and for your voices to be a part of that. So the request would be that we do this work in between these sessions, and then we come back with a picture, a representation. I mean, if you want to carry the whole thing and have it, you can do it on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. You can do it on a big piece of flip chart and take a picture of it, and then maybe you can share that screen, or you can even hold it up. You can even hold it up, to the screen as you share and talk about it in our next session. But our next session is going to start with really using the river of life as a way for us, again, to have an experience and to give you another tool that I think is amazing, and I'll process it a little bit with you. The amazing value that I've seen with it, working with clients and consumers, with self-advocates and with champions, you know, to know the story so that they tell that story authentically. Are there any other questions as I leave it here? And again, you've got the prompt, the slide deck, so I know you all have it. Again, I usually have things that I can demonstrate and show how this works. So this is a little more awkward for me, trying to make sure that it makes sense. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns about the Create Your River? And we'll send a prompt.
I have a question, Hassan.
Yes, Nitsa.
Hassan.
Yes.
We do the assignment and we have to send it to you before the next meeting, or we are going to share in this.
Thank you. We're going to share it in the next meeting. Okay. Now, if you want to do it and take a picture and send it to me, that's fine to have them all in one place. But we're going to share them at our next meeting. Did that help, Nitsa?
And let me just add to this. Hello, this is Amy. We sent the slide deck to participants via the listserv that ChairNet created. So the participants of this group can always go back to that email and reference the slide deck. So just wanted to add that, Hassan. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Thank you for that.
Hassan, can you type your email in the chat box?
Yes.
Thank you. Nitsa's asking for it. Oh, get ready. You're going to get some emails, Hassan.
Love it. I love it. There we go. And I think I even spelled it all right. So, yes, please feel free. I would love to see him. And like I said, you all can't tell clearly, but this is like the stuff I love about supporting and helping leaders navigate. So yeah, I'm all in for this. I know we only got a couple minutes left, and I want to make sure that we get to a checkout. Again, check in and check out are just great framing that allow us to hold space, to make sure that we allow room for everybody to show up as they can and how they can, and to make sure that we have their voice in the room as much as they want to allow it. When we're live and we have the time to really to go through a process, it's great to have people doing these pieces out loud. What I would like to invite you to do in the last few minutes we have is to check out in the chat, how are you now, and your most powerful takeaway from our time today. And I would also, at the same time, invite any who would like to share out loud, open their mic, to please feel free to do that. So how are you and your most powerful takeaway from today? You can put it in the chat. And if you feel moved to give final words out loud, we've got a couple of minutes to take a couple of live shots. I wish I had some elevator music just to kind of keep us, you know, going while we're waiting, but
So this is,
hi, Kimberly.
Sorry, this is Kimberly Mack. So I think the biggest thing that I struggle with all this is because I'm a white person, I can't empathize with BIPOC individuals, but I also feel, I don't know how to explain it. I feel very vulnerable, but then I feel like I shouldn't own that feeling to share space with BIPOC trying to educate me on how to be a messenger for their message, because it's not my message to share. But I also struggle with trying to not override the message of individuals who are BIPOC by talking about the need for inclusion of disability equity into the different settings. Yeah. And I tried to, like I said, I struggle with feeling vulnerable and feeling unsafe, but then I think about that's not appropriate for me to feel that way. I don't know. I just have so many thoughts running through my mind, but through this whole process of what I've been working on in our county for the last year and a half, 2 years, those are just kind of, I guess, some of the feelings that I've been feeling, that I want to elevate the BIPOC message, but at the same time, I want to make sure that it's done accessibly. And sometimes it feels like other groups that are trying to purely promote the BIPOC message are feeling like I'm trying to water down what they're trying to say.
Sure.
And it's really a struggle for me. And I hate feeling like I shouldn't feel the way I am feeling.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense, because I
Can I
don't
say
know that I've made
something?
sense of it in my head.
Like, as a white autistic with learning disability and mental illness, living with those things in my life, I've actually thought a lot about that, Kimberly. Like, how do I identify with social oppression, systemic injustice, and it without taking over the message, because it's not my message? And there's other forms of systemic injustices that you might have personal experiences with in your life. And if you're able to understand that, then you can identify with those things and speak from just a general systemic oppression and injustice perspective, and just talk about the facts around inclusion in your daily life. So that's what I do with, like, when I don't have any mobility disabilities, but I'm still going to speak up for people who have mobility disabilities as much as I can without taking over the message. I don't require LTSS, long-term supports and services, to be able to live my life. But I do understand what it's like to be able to reach for independence and to live independently as a human being. So.
Well, thank you, Alyssa, for that, and thank you, Kimberly, for being vulnerable and bringing the question. What I would say to you, because we're at time, is that is exactly the question you courageously ask. Is a question that so many leaders in this moment are struggling with internally. And I think that as we continue this process, we're going to start to get some more answers. Alyssa gave you a really great first run, and I love that advice. And I think that we're going to continue that conversation as we move in. And I think we're going to be able to really deepen it for you and find some ways to support you in thinking about how you show up, where you show up, and when you show up. But so thank you for that, and I'm sorry that we kind of hit time right as the really the powerful question came up. But so, Kimberly, how are you in this moment? Are you okay right now? Is that you good?
Yes, I'm okay, and I'm trying to not do the yes but based on Alyssa's comment.
I get it. Yeah.
I guess maybe it's just the reactions of others not realizing that I'm trying to be in this with them. Because there are other groups, like I said, that feel like that, say that, we're trying to override the message.
Sure.
And they get angry and mad, and they have a right to own that. But at the same time, I don't know. This has been the biggest issues that I've been having for the last 2 years.
So I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll commit to, instead of a yes, but we've got a yes and I think the and is what we're going to be leading into over the next 3 months, really building that. So don't lose that question. In fact, I think it's going to become very critical as you get into the meat of it in later sessions, especially as Keys start showing organizationally how folks start to move. So hold it and keep it. Don't discard it. So it's a yes, and we're going to continue to interrogate that and dig deeper. And we've hit our time boundary. You all have been graceful enough to give me 5 extra minutes. I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you all session 2 on October 5th. Is that right? 12 to 1:30. I think I'm reading prompt right. Okay, y'all, thank you so much for being present, for being here, showing up wholehearted and open-minded. This has been wonderful for me, and I hope that you all are doing good. Take care of yourselves and keep doing amazing work. And I'll see you soon. Thanks, y'all.
Great work, Hassan. Thanks, everyone. This was amazing.